Hey everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of Indie Zombie Reviews. Today I am talking about The Girl and the Robot. This is an indie game that apparently was kickstarted a couple of years ago. It's on PC and it was ported to the Wii U. I played the Wii U version. These are my thoughts on it so far. Now, to be fair for this review, I've played probably about 3 hours of this so far. I wanted to finish it, but quit out of pure frustration. But let's get into some more specifics about the game. This is an action puzzle game, pretty much, with very little platforming. You take control of an unnamed girl who meets a robot that she befriends, and the robot starts protecting her after she finds this amulet that gives you the ability to switch from the robot to her and so forth. And when they're together, the robot can actually pick her up and carry her, and the both of you can move on, which is pretty nice, actually. Overall, I don't much care for the art style that's going on in this game. Everything's just a little bit too blocky, and a lot of the editing when they're doing story bits is very distracting. There are these very bizarre cuts all of a sudden where it will cut to black before it cuts to a new scene or a new angle or anything like that, and so that's just very distracting and very annoying. Feels like that should have been done a little bit better, but you know. The game does not have a very good tutorial when it is explaining how combat with the robot works. And combat with the robot is very clunky. It feels very slow. It feels almost unresponsive at times. You have like three different things four really that you can do during combat with the robot, where you have your sword, where you only have like three different, combo swings pretty much, and then you have your shield, which you activate by holding down the left shoulder button. You swing your sword with the R trigger, and then you can activate your bow and arrow with the left trigger, but bow and arrow is more suited for solving puzzles. And actually, I stumbled upon a glitch here in the game where when you're standing close to a gated door, and sometimes if you aim really off to the left, you can either hit the puzzle target that you're supposed to be aiming for, or you can shoot at enemies, which does at least minimize some of the combat that you'll have, because combat in this game sucks. It really just feels like an afterthought. It doesn't require a whole lot of strategy or anything like that, especially when you get to the bigger robots, the ones that will guard a lot more and take a lot more damage. Really, all you gotta do is block once, block their first attack, and then just mash away, and then once your combo's finished, block, and then just go right back into mashing. So, not a whole lot of thought there. There doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of interactivity either. It's actually kind of interesting how when you control the girl, all you can really do is either push a button or crawl through a hole and then nothing else. It's also kind of funny how you can't climb on ledges or anything like that, so nothing was really integrated properly is kind of the best way that I can put it, is really how it feels in this. And this does not feel like a finished game at all. There were so many segments where I was just walking around and the game just felt really buggy. I mean, I felt a lot more when I was in this sprawling town area, and every time I was moving the camera around, the game kind of felt like it was getting a little glitchy at times, like it was going to crash. Of course, it never crashed once the whole time I was playing it, but it felt like it was going to. And, yeah, this is just not a very well-made game. And let's get a little bit more specific about some of the puzzles. They're kind of interesting. I mean, they took me a while to solve them, but I'm not very good with puzzles. Once I did, though, it felt pretty stereotypical, where it's stand on this switch, now switch to this character and go and do this. And one puzzle I did get kind of stumbled on because I realized that I was doing it backwards. I was supposed to be doing the whole puzzle with the robot, where I thought I was supposed to be doing it as the girl. But you need the robot because you have to activate the other doors with your bow and arrow. So other than that, the girl is just useless in trying to solve the rest of these puzzles. And then you get into this sort of light walkway puzzle that is only activated because the robot can see the light. The girl can't. And at first I didn't know what the hell it was I was supposed to do until I realized, oh, well, okay. You have to use the robot in order to be able to see the light walkways so that the girl can then walk on them. But what becomes so damn tedious about this whole thing is that you're then constantly having to switch back and forth between the robot to keep being able to see what you're doing. And you gotta stay on the robot long enough to be able to see the light so that when you turn back, you can see so that you can continue walking. Otherwise, you're just switching back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it is just tedious. And what's worst of all is that the game then decides, let's introduce combat in here too. Let's, sick a robot on the girl. And the second that the robot gets close to the girl and grabs her, it's game over. Whereas the robot can take quite a bit of damage. In fact, it kind of seemed like the game doesn't give a very good indicator as to how weak, or close, I should say, the robot is to being killed in combat. I mean, I guess you can kind of tell because of the damage, that he's taken, where pieces will be missing from him at times, but it would have been nice to have, maybe an indicator on his back, on his shield, since the only other indicator you get is this flashing red light, which I thought was indicating at first that, oh, the robot's gonna die, when actually it's just saying that you've taken damage. And it's like, why couldn't you have, like a meter on his shield or something to, okay, this is how low your health is. Okay, this is how low it is. Okay, well, this is how high it is. And one nice thing is that when you're in command of the girl, is that she can heal the robot. So that's nice, at least, so you can get a refresh from combat. And anyway, when you're on these light walkways, you then have to switch to the robot to take them out with the bow and arrow, but they're moving so damn fast, so very first time this happened, I wasn't aware of it, so it caught me off guard, and so naturally I died immediately. And what's worse is that when you die, you then have to go back and repeat the puzzle that you just did. So it's back to the tedium of switching back and forth. And yeah, the saves and load states, and you can't pick and choose when you want to save or when you want to load or anything like that, which is very irritating. And it's just... And, of course, next room you get to, there are more robots and another light puzzle. Thankfully, there are only 2 rooms of this. And what was funny, too, was when I had to repeat, because I died, on that part, because of the 2 frickin' robots, was when I had to restart the previous room again, the robot appeared in a different spot and just fell and died. So that happened. And thankfully this time I was ready for the 2 robots, so even before they began walking towards me, when they were like barely activated, I could take them out while they were just still in their still in their little enclave areas. And enemy placement will sometimes just be random. Like at one point, there was a robot, on this side of the labyrinth, and then suddenly it appears in front of me. Then another time it's behind me. So either they're just randomly placed. I mean, I would like to assume that they're just patrolling, and maybe that's why. But sometimes when you find them, they're just not moving. They're just standing in place. So, and I did mention a lot of the other puzzles too, but, there were just a lot of different variants on various different puzzles meant to open up doors and unlock doors and stuff like that. Yeah. And, I mean, I think I was at maybe the final puzzle of the game where you walk into this bigger labyrinth, and the second that you walk in, these 4 doors on either side of you open up, and they're supposed to have robots in them, but the first time I did it, there was nothing inside the doors. And as I walked and ran around, these various other areas opened up that I believe were supposed to have enemies, but they didn't. So it was just the game bugged out again. And then when I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do, I was supposed to take the robot and put him to the top of the tower. When I reloaded, that's just where he was. He was just inside the tower, and just had to put him at the top to activate this cannon that would then set off a switch that would, rearrange what doors were open and not. And then that's when robots were inside the doors. And then they started appearing and attacking, or chasing me, I should say. But, yeah, and God, this was just tedious and boring. And it didn't feel fair at times either, how you only get one chance, as the girl, and the second that you're caught, you can't try and struggle or get away or anything like that. Just the fact that you have no real defense is kind of annoying. I mean, as the girl, that you have no defense whatsoever, and I'm sure someone would say, well, your defense is the robot. The robot is on the other side is on a fucking tower, like miles away from me. I have 0 defense right now. Why can't I defend myself? But, yeah. And the game feels unpolished. It feels unfinished. It feels buggy as hell. There are quite a few times when I'd be walking down hallways and areas would just disappear or just become, just blue areas. Or at one point I was trying to figure out what I was supposed to do and the robot just fell through the stairs. Or that where I had previously auto-saved, because the game just does this a lot. It just auto-saves, whenever you get to a new area. It started me in an unknown area, and then it turned out, oh, this is the area where the elevator is supposed to be, but I gotta walk up the stairs to activate it so that I can then go up and continue the puzzle. And it's a damn shame, too, because if you go to the Kickstarter page, actually for this game, the art that they use for it looks great and looks beautiful, but none of the in-game stuff looks good at all. I only had one boss fight while I was in this, and that was interesting because it's the same aspect where this like half robotic looking woman that you're fighting, she has the same ability that you do, where when you switch between the girl and the robot, she will do the same. And so you can't hurt the robot, and you can't hurt her as the robot because they're both protected by magic. So you have to use this cannon in order to hurt her. That will weaken her control of the robot, so you can then attack him, and you have to do this quite a few times. And the most annoying aspect about it will be the animation between the girl trying to activate the cannon, because if you don't do it fast enough, she will move out of range of the cannon and then be able to grab you, and then game over. So that's annoying. Yeah. And a lot of the character AI is pretty stupid. Characters will stop following you or coming after you after a certain point if you're the girl. But if you're the robot, they'll keep coming at you. And again, combat just feels like an afterthought. This is not a very well made game. And I mean, the puzzles are fine. It's not a very good looking game either. There is not a lot of music in here, so there is just way too much quiet going on, and there's not a lot of audio effects for anything either, and when there is, it doesn't sound very good. Like such things for the robots. Like, the robots feel like that they're made out of tinfoil. Like, they look and feel like they're very fragile. Yet, when you get, the cinematics, the robots seem stronger than they actually are. But, yeah, and I didn't mention a few things. Like, apparently, there's a quick kill ability that you can do on the robots if you get them from behind. How, like, they all have this orb on their back, and if you manage to hit them from behind, you can quick kill them, which is cool, but it's going to be rare that you ever really get to do that, because the rest of the time, you'll get into scenarios where you'll just be surrounded by enemies, and usually it's just best to quick shield, wait for them to attack, and then just slash away. So, yeah, overall, yeah, this is not a very well-made game. This is not very good. This really can't get a recommendation from me. I think quite a few people who might have kickstarted it probably did a couple of Let's Plays of it, either on the PC, probably like while it was in alpha or in beta, and giving their thoughts on it. But yeah, this is a game that really needed to be worked on quite a bit more. It certainly needed a lot more music. I think, man, they really should have used the art that they had in their sketchbooks for this, other than using what they have in game, because in game it does not look very good. Alright, well, everybody, those are my thoughts on The Girl and the Robot. Just not a very good game. Hopefully next time I cover another indie game, that'll be something good, because so far it's just been 2 duds. So it's on the Wii U, I think for $10. I think I might have gotten it while it was going on sale, so I might have gotten it a little bit cheaper. It's also on Steam, where it has mostly positive reviews, but this is just not a very good game. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hit this video with a like or a subscribe if you enjoyed it. I would really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care of yourselves.